Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, yes, the new hopeful cycle of Melartin Symphonies. That's Erkki Melartin. That's him. He lived from 1875 to 1937. He was Finland's major symphonist after Sibelius in that same period. He wrote 6 symphonies, and they were previously recorded by the Tampere Philharmonic under Leonard Grin and issued on Ondine. Performances that basically sort of told us what these things sort of sounded like, but they were neither terribly well played nor terribly well recorded. And these are both. They are very well played and very well recorded. I didn't mean terribly played. I mean, really, they're good. Under Ari Rasilainen with the Turku Philharmonic Orchestra. Yes, it's about time. And this particular disc contains his last 2 symphonies, number 5 and number 6. So let's talk about them a little bit, and we'll see where we wind up, shall we? And it's on CPO. Yes, which does all kinds of wonderful things. All right. Now, Symphony number 5 was composed in 1915. Its nickname is the Sinfonia Brevis. It is not Brevis. In fact, it's as long as Symphony number 6. Well, a minute and 38 seconds shorter in this performance, but they're both 33, 34 minutes. You know, they're standard length symphonies. And Melartin's style. Oh, how do we talk about Melartin's style? It's sort of post-Wagnerian, German, somewhat Russian, a little bit maybe, which means a little bit French, romantic. It's tuneful. It's a little conservative harmonically, but completely uninhibited orchestrally in terms of the orchestration and the timbre. Symphony number 5, for example, has a really extensive part for celesta, doubling things all over the place, which is kind of unusual. And it's got harp and it's got percussion right from the outset. He's not ashamed of it. It's bold and it's exciting and it's fun to listen to. He writes gorgeous string cantilenas and big brass chorales and lovely woodwind things with light texture. He kind of reminds me, if you have to, the notes are so unhelpful when they come to these things. They say, oh, well, it reflects the influence of Mahler. Well, there was an influence of Mahler, actually. There are a couple moments in both symphonies that sort of sound like the recapitulation of the first movement of the second symphony. You know, the brass thing. Remember that? Well, there are a couple moments that sort of do that. Sort of, kind of. You get a sense of it. But otherwise, no, we don't hear much Mahler in his music. He did conduct Mahler. He was the first conductor to do Mahler in Finland very early on. I think he did the Adagietto from the Fifth Symphony. So he was very well read. He understood what was happening in contemporary European music, concert music, and he was contemporary in that sense. Late German romantic decadent is what you would say. Probably, the composer he really kind of brings to mind is like Schrecker. And, those folks, particularly in the Sixth Symphony, which was written in 1924. Originally, he planned 9 symphonies and he sketched out 7 and 8, but he died young, only in his 60s, and he was, 62 or something like that? Let me see. 1875 to 1937. Yeah, he was not old. And he would have written more of them. And they're major works. They don't sound Finnish at all, which means they don't sound like Sibelius, because Sibelius doesn't sound Finnish at all. It's Finland that sounds like Sibelius. It's the other way around, actually. Finland sort of adopted him and said, this is the Finnish sound. Whereas Melartin is a cosmopolitan European composer, but a good one, a colorful one, a distinctive one. He doesn't write the best tunes, and his form is a little patchy. I mean, the finale of the Fifth Symphony, for example, is this monstrous fugue thing, which he carries off quite well. And the finale of the Sixth is a bit of a patchwork. It's episodic, and one thing doesn't necessarily lead to another in a perfectly like logical sequence. But the thing is that the episodes are so attractive and so interesting timbrally and so just worth listening to. You're so enjoyable while they're happening that you don't really worry about the fact that maybe they're slightly unmotivated or the overall form maybe isn't entirely coherent. I mean, I'm willing to give them a pass on that while I get to know these works better. Because I thought I knew them from the earlier recordings, but if you have those, you don't know them. You really don't, because they're extremely reliant on vivid sound. And that's what we get here. Really vivid sound. So we hear all of the instrumental combinations and colors, and it makes a huge difference. It really, really does. So I recommend this very highly. I know some of you have already heard it because you mentioned it to me, and I was waiting for physical product. I had downloaded this a month and a half ago, weeks ago, and have been enjoying it ever since. But I wanted to make sure that physical product was coming because you never know these days, and collectors are going to want to hold it and pet it and stroke it and fondle it and because it's like a major symphony guy from Finland. I mean, it's a place worth hearing always. And just for some reason, just having it as digibits doesn't really do it for me. And I know for a lot of you too. You want the notes, which are very good. Although the Mahler business, like I said, is just not, you have to sort of forget about that. But Melartin is a late romantic, juicy composer who's well worth getting to know. And I look forward to further issues in this series. Apparently in Finland, there's like a Melartin Society, which is finally putting his scores in order for publication. And that's been a big problem because they weren't published in his lifetime, and they're apparently a mess. So there has to be a lot of editorial decision-making in order to get clean copies and figure out exactly what's going on. But sounds like everything that's going on here is what ought to be going on. So they did a good job. They all did a good job. I'm happy that they're doing it. Hopefully the rest will follow in due course, and we'll all be much the richer for the fact. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.